George Washington's presidency marked the inception of American executive power and set precedents that continue to guide the nation today. Washington's leadership established enduring principles that shaped the United States government and secured its fledgling democracy. Assuming office in 1789, George Washington became the first president of the United States, setting a precedent for all who would follow. His tenure was marked by significant events including the ratification of the Bill of Rights, the establishment of the first cabinet, and the creation of the federal judiciary system. Washington's careful navigation between opposing political factions set the tone for a balanced federal government. His decision to step down after 2 terms reinforced the principles of democratic transition and prevention of tyranny, a practice echoed in the 22nd Amendment. Washington's presidency also tackled challenging foreign policy issues, laying down the doctrine of neutrality that influenced American foreign relations for years. Reflect on Washington's presidency to appreciate the profound foresight and integrity required in leadership, and consider how these foundational choices continue to influence the United States political and governmental landscape today.
As the second president of the United States, John Adams's tenure marked a critical period that tested the young republic's resilience and diplomatic acumen. Adams's presidency is significant for its adept navigation through international tensions, particularly avoiding open conflict with France during the Quasi-War, thereby establishing a precedent for peaceful conflict resolution. Assuming office in 1797, Adams faced mounting pressure from escalating tensions with France, which threatened American sovereignty and security. His decision to pursue diplomatic negotiations, rather than yielding to the widespread call for war, was exemplified by the Convention of 1800, which successfully ended hostilities and preserved peace. Moreover, domestically, Adams's support for the controversial Alien and Sedition Acts highlighted the challenges of balancing national security with civil liberties, provoking intense debate that would shape American political discourse. Despite these challenges, Adams's leadership laid groundwork for future diplomatic efforts and highlighted the complexities of managing domestic and international expectations. Reflecting on Adams's presidency encourages an appreciation for the importance of diplomacy and civil discourse in navigating the complex challenges faced by nations, a lesson that remains as pertinent today as it did then. Thomas Jefferson's presidency marked a pivotal transformation in American politics, championing democratic ideals that continue to influence the United States today. Jefferson's presidency is significant for its embodiment of democratic Republican values, emphasizing state rights, agrarianism, and a limited federal government that balanced power from the central authority. Serving as the 3rd president of the United States from 1801 to 1809, Jefferson's administration oversaw significant events such as the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, which doubled the size of the country and facilitated westward expansion. He also enacted the Lewis and Clark Expedition, strengthening the nation's scientific and geographical understanding of its vast territories. His efforts to reduce national debt and limit governmental power underscored his revolutionary ideas of governance, evident in policies like the repeal of the Alien and Sedition Acts. The Embargo Act of 1807, however, showcased the challenges of his policies, severely affecting American trade. Reflecting on Jefferson's presidency encourages us to consider the complexities of balancing governmental authority with individual freedoms, the impacts of territorial expansion, and the enduring influence of his democratic principles, urging us to critically analyze the evolution of American political values and their relevance today. James Madison's presidency marked a pivotal era in American history, characterized by significant constitutional challenges and the War of 1812. This event is significant because it solidified the United States' sovereignty, tested the resilience of its institutions, and shaped the nation's early political landscape. James Madison, serving as the 4th president from 1809 to 1817, faced complex issues, including the ongoing tensions with Britain that escalated into the War of 1812. The conflict, often called the Second War of Independence, was fueled by trade restrictions, impressment of American sailors, and territorial expansionism. Despite initial setbacks, including the burning of the White House, the successful defense at Fort McHenry, the Hartford Convention's political fallout, and Andrew Jackson's victory at the Battle of New Orleans. Madison's leadership ultimately led to a renewed sense of national identity and territorial integrity. His time in office also encountered significant constitutional debates, especially concerning federal power versus states' rights, which would continue to influence American politics. As we reflect on Madison's presidency, it serves as a reminder of the challenges of leading a young nation through conflict and constitutional tests, underscoring the importance of resilient leadership and the enduring struggle to balance national unity with individual liberties. As the fifth President of the United States, James Monroe's presidency marked a pivotal moment in defining the nation's foreign policy with the establishment of the Monroe Doctrine in 1823. This doctrine significantly shaped American diplomacy by asserting opposition to European colonialism in the Americas, effectively laying the groundwork for U.S. influence in the Western Hemisphere. During Monroe's presidency, the United States faced growing pressures from European powers potentially expanding their colonial reach across the newly independent Latin American states. In response, Monroe, under the skillful guidance of his Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams, declared that any European intervention in the Americas would be viewed as an act of aggression against the United States. This proclamation was not merely a statement of intent, but a broader assertion of American sovereignty and a signal of emerging U.S. identity on the world stage. The Monroe Doctrine would later be invoked throughout history to justify U.S. foreign intervention in the Americas and remains a cornerstone of American policy. Studying Monroe's presidency and the Monroe Doctrine invites reflection on the persistent themes of power, autonomy, and foreign influence, prompting us to consider how historical doctrines continue to shape contemporary international relations and regional strategies. John Quincy Adams's presidency marked a pivotal moment in American history, characterized by ambitious domestic proposals and intense political challenges. As the sixth President of the United States, Adams's tenure from 1825 to 1829 was marked by his vision for national modernization, which laid the groundwork for future American infrastructure and education, despite facing staunch opposition from a deeply divided Congress. Adams, son of former President John Adams, ascended to the presidency after a contentious election that was decided by the House of Representatives. His ambitious agenda included proposals for a national university, federal patronage for infrastructure improvements, and the promotion of scientific exploration. However, his presidency was hampered by fierce political opposition from supporters of Andrew Jackson and a Congress resistant to expansive federal initiatives. This gridlock reflected the era's growing sectional tensions and the evolving nature of American politics, foreshadowing the tumultuous Jacksonian era. Reflecting on Adams's presidency offers valuable lessons on the challenges of implementing visionary leadership within a politically polarized environment, highlighting the enduring tension between federal action and states' rights that continues to shape American governance. Andrew Jackson's presidency marked a profound shift in American politics, expanding democratic participation while also intensifying debates over federal power and states' rights. Jackson's tenure from 1829 to 1837 was significant for democratizing the political landscape by championing the common man and advocating for broader suffrage for white males, fundamentally transforming the American political system. Jacksonian democracy saw the dismantling of elitist institutions, most notably through the controversial dismantling of the Second Bank of the United States, which he viewed as a bastion of privilege and corruption. His presidency was also marred by contentious policies such as the Indian Removal Act of 1830, leading to the forced relocation of Native American tribes and the tragic Trail of Tears. This era of American history prompts reflection on the complex legacies of Jackson's leadership, from advocating for democratic ideals to enforcing oppressive policies. As we analyze these events, we are urged to consider the balance between power, populism, and the rights of all individuals, struggles still resonant in modern political discourse. Martin Van Buren's presidency marked a pivotal moment in American political history as he navigated through severe economic challenges and party realignment. His tenure is significant for highlighting the power of political maneuvering and the consequences of economic policies on a young nation. Martin Van Buren assumed the presidency in 1837, succeeding Andrew Jackson, under whom he had served as vice president. Almost immediately, Van Buren faced the Panic of 1837, a severe economic depression brought on by speculative lending practices and the collapse of banking institutions. His response, advocating for a hands-off government approach to the economy, was grounded in Jacksonian principles, but drew criticism in an era of financial hardship. Moreover, Van Buren's term saw the solidification of the two-party system, with his Democratic Party facing the emerging Whigs. Despite his adept political strategies, these challenges overshadowed his presidency and contributed to his later defeat. Reflecting on Van Buren's presidency encourages us to consider the complexities of economic management and political strategy in modern governance. His struggles underscore the importance of adaptive leadership in addressing crises and the enduring influence of political ideology on policymaking. William Henry Harrison's presidency marks a pivotal moment in American history due to its unprecedented brevity and subsequent influence on presidential succession. Though Harrison's term lasted only 32 days in 1841, his death highlighted critical gaps in constitutional provisions for presidential succession, leading to lasting political and legislative changes. Assuming office on March 4, 1841, Harrison became the first U.S. president to die in office, passing away from pneumonia on April 4, 1841, after delivering the longest inaugural address in history during inclement weather. The lack of a clear succession plan thrust Vice President John Tyler into the presidency, setting a crucial precedent for future transitions of power. Harrison's presidency underscored the vulnerabilities within the executive branch, prompting Congress to pass the 25th Amendment in 1967, which clarified procedures for succession and presidential disability. Reflecting on Harrison's presidency, we are reminded of the importance of foresight in governance and the need for rigorous constitutional frameworks to ensure stability and continuity in leadership. This historical episode encourages us to examine how seemingly brief moments can influence substantial institutional reforms and shape the course of governance. John Tyler's presidency marked a pivotal moment in American history as it tested the boundaries of constitutional succession and executive power. Tyler's ascent to the presidency following the death of President William Henry Harrison in 1841 was significant because it set a critical precedent for the seamless transfer of power under the U.S. Constitution. As the first vice president to assume the presidency upon the death of a sitting president, Tyler's assertion that he was the rightful president, rather than merely acting as one, solidified the practice of vice presidential succession, a principle that would later be codified in the 25th Amendment. During his tenure, Tyler faced intense opposition from both parties, leading to a presidency largely defined by vetoes and policy stalemates. However, his stance on issues such as states' rights and territorial expansion impacted the nation's trajectory. Tyler's successful annexation of Texas in 1845 set the stage for further territorial expansion and intensified the debate over slavery, which would eventually lead to the Civil War. James K. Polk's presidency marked a pivotal era of territorial expansion that fundamentally reshaped the United States. Through his policies and actions, Polk reinforced the Manifest Destiny ideology, leading to significant territorial gains that solidified America's continental presence. Elected in 1844, Polk was a formidable advocate of westward expansion, aiming to fulfill America's perceived duty to expand its boundaries. During his tenure from 1845 to 1849, the United States acquired over 1 million square miles of territory, including the annexation of Texas, the Oregon Treaty with Britain, and the vast lands obtained through the Mexican-American War and the subsequent Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. These acquisitions extended the nation's borders to the Pacific coast, fueling economic growth, but also intensifying the debate over slavery in new territories. Reflecting on Polk's presidency encourages us to weigh the benefits of national growth against the ethical and human costs associated with expansionist policies, a debate that resonates in contemporary discussions about America's role and responsibilities in the world. As the nation teetered on the brink of division, Zachary Taylor's presidency highlighted the precarious balance between expansionism and the brewing sectional tensions over slavery. Zachary Taylor's presidency is a pivotal moment in American history, as it underscores the increasing sectionalism that would eventually lead to the Civil War. Born of the tumultuous era following the Mexican-American War, Taylor's tenure from 1849 to 1850 came at a time when the United States grappled with questions of slavery in newly acquired territories. Despite being a Southern slave owner himself, Taylor opposed the expansion of slavery into the territories won from Mexico, advocating for California and New Mexico's immediate admission as free states. His unexpected death in 1850 cut short any resolutions he might have achieved, passing the challenge to his successor, Millard Fillmore. Taylor's presidency foreshadowed the seismic national debates that would culminate in the secession of Southern states. Reflecting on Taylor's presidency invites contemplation on the complex dynamics of leadership, the challenges of maintaining national unity, and the repercussions of unresolved sectional disputes, a poignant reminder of the delicate balance required in governance and the enduring impact of these historical tensions on America's fabric. Millard Fillmore's presidency marked a pivotal moment in American history as he sought to navigate the turbulent pre-Civil War era. Fillmore's presidency is significant because it underscored the increasing sectional tensions that would soon culminate in the Civil War. He played a crucial role in promoting and signing the Compromise of 1850, a series of measures intended to appease both free and slave states. Fillmore's efforts were an attempt to preserve the Union and stave off secession, but they arguably delayed an inevitable conflict. His focus on diplomacy and moderation reflected the immense pressure of governing a nation on the brink of division. As we reflect on Fillmore's presidency, it's essential to consider the complexities and compromises of leadership during times of national crisis, and how such efforts to maintain unity can offer lessons in mediating contemporary political divides. During his presidency, Franklin Pierce grappled with escalating tensions that foreshadowed the impending Civil War. Pierce's leadership is significant because it highlights the failures of mid-19th century American politics to address the deepening divide over slavery. Franklin Pierce served as the 14th President of the United States from 1853 to 1857, a period marked by intense national strife. His support for the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which allowed territories to decide on the legality of slavery for themselves, stirred violent conflicts known as Bleeding Kansas, exacerbating sectional divisions. Although he aimed to unite the country, Pierce's policies often appeased the pro-slavery South, further alienating the North. His administration's inability to manage rising tensions not only fractured his party, but also set the stage for his successor, James Buchanan, and eventually Abraham Lincoln's election. Reflecting on Pierce's presidency offers valuable lessons about the dangers of failing to address moral and political crises effectively. It serves as a reminder of how leadership, or lack thereof, can either bridge divides or deepen them, urging us to consider the consequences of political actions on national unity and progress. James Buchanan's presidency, marked by deepening national divisions, offers crucial insights into the precursors of the American Civil War. His tenure from 1857 to 1861 was significant as it exposed and exacerbated the irreparable fissures between the northern and southern states over issues like states' rights and slavery. Buchanan's inability or unwillingness to effectively address these conflicts set the stage for the impending secession crisis. During Buchanan's administration, key events such as the Dred Scott decision, which denied citizenship to African Americans, and the violent clashes in Bleeding Kansas, underscored the boiling tensions over slavery. Buchanan's support for the pro-slavery Lecompton Constitution in Kansas further alienated abolitionist elements in the North. His failure to maintain a strong Unionist stance emboldened Southern secessionists, contributing directly to the outbreak of the Civil War shortly after his presidency ended. Reflecting on Buchanan's presidency teaches valuable lessons on the perils of indecisive leadership during times of national crisis. It's a stark reminder of the importance of confronting hard truths and making firm decisions in order to uphold national unity and prevent conflicts from escalating to the point of no return. Abraham Lincoln's presidency marked a pivotal era where the course of American history was irrevocably altered. Serving from 1861 to 1865, Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War and his commitment to ending slavery were instrumental in preserving the Union and setting the stage for a more equitable society. Key moments under his leadership include the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which declared the freedom of enslaved people in Confederate states, positioning the Civil War as a fight also for human liberation. Additionally, Lincoln's adept navigation of wartime politics and his eloquent articulation of democratic ideals, as seen in the Gettysburg Address, helped redefine the nation's identity. His presidency underscored fundamental tensions in American democracy, and through his assassination in 1865, Lincoln became an enduring symbol of national unity and moral progress. As we reflect on Lincoln's presidency, it is crucial to consider its lessons on leadership, resilience, and the pursuit of justice, and to explore how these values can address contemporary challenges in an ever-evolving democratic society. Andrew Johnson's presidency marked a pivotal yet contentious era in American history, as the nation grappled with the aftermath of the Civil War and the challenges of Reconstruction. Johnson's tenure is significant because it highlighted the fierce political struggles over how to reunify and rebuild the country, ultimately culminating in his near removal from office. Assuming the presidency after Lincoln's assassination in 1865, Johnson, a Southern Democrat, often clashed with the Republican-led Congress, particularly over the approach to Reconstruction and the rights of newly freed African Americans. His lenient policies towards the former Confederate states and vetoing of key legislation, such as the Civil Rights Act of 1866, led to his impeachment by the House of Representatives in 1868, making him the first U.S. president to be impeached. Though acquitted by a single vote in the Senate, his presidency was severely weakened. Reflecting on Johnson's presidency prompts us to consider the complexities of political power balances, the importance of effective leadership in healing a divided nation, and the ongoing struggle for civil rights, themes that continue to resonate today. Ulysses S. Grant's presidency marked a critical phase in American history, characterized by attempts at reconstruction amidst controversy and political turbulence. Grant's leadership during the tumultuous Reconstruction era was significant because it was pivotal in shaping the post-Civil War United States. Elected as the 18th president in 1868, Grant's administration aimed to stabilize the nation and secure civil rights for newly emancipated African Americans. Despite his aspirations, his presidency was marred by numerous scandals, such as the Whiskey Ring and the Credit Mobilier scandal, underscoring the challenges of governance during this period. Nonetheless, Grant took decisive steps to counter the Ku Klux Klan with the Enforcement Acts, showcasing his commitment to protecting African American civil rights. His presidency also oversaw significant economic developments, albeit during a time of frequent financial crises, such as the Panic of 1873, which highlighted the era's economic volatility. Reflecting on Grant's presidency, audiences are encouraged to consider the complex interplay of leadership, societal change, and ethical governance during critical periods of national transition, drawing lessons about resilience and the ongoing quest for equity and integrity within American political life.